So for our third story of the day, good old Gavin Newsom. So many of you may have heard his name tossed around once or twice. He is the governor of California. And over the past month or so, there have been growing, we'll say, efforts, okay, to remove Gavin Newsom from office, okay? And it's mainly because he's absolutely horrible. But it's also for a multitude of other reasons as well. So he has become famous because he implemented the most shutdowns in the entire country, right? The most lockdowns. I mean, as soon as the pandemic started, California came out and was basically like, you are not allowed to breathe in another human's direction. They were actually issuing out edicts and stuff where when you were sitting at a restaurant, you had to keep your mask on during the meal. And you could only pull it down to take a bite. And then while you were chewing, you had to put the mask back over your face while you were chewing. I'm not lying. That is real life, okay? So after he decides to do all this throughout the course of 2020, he then gets busted in January, I believe in January, either January or December, having a large dinner with a whole bunch of people where pictures were taken of him not wearing a mask. Nobody there was wearing a mask. They were all mucking it up and drinking and talking together, a whole bunch of rich people. I'm sure a whole bunch of people that have donated to Gavin's campaigns and whatnot, totally ignoring all the restrictions in place. So you had all these people that were looking around that were like small business owners, and they were like, what? What is going on? Like, how are you able to sit around and have a dinner with all of your friends and family with no mask on, no worries in the world, and I still can't even open my business up? How am I supposed to even make a living? I can't because of all the lockdowns that you have in place right now. So let's go ahead and take a quick look. This is Fox Business reporting on this a little bit earlier in the week, talking about basically recall efforts that have been put in place to try and get Gavin Newsom removed from office.
The Governor Newsom recall effort just hitting a major milestone, with organizers claiming that they have gathered more than the 1.5 million signatures needed to trigger a special election. Joining me now is Ann Hyde Dunsmore. She is the Rescue California campaign manager and finance director. Well, congratulations. Now that you have the signatures, what comes next?
Well, we don't, actually. I mean, that 1.5 million signatures is only 82% valid by our calculation, 82 to 84% valid, which means, and that's very normal, which means we need to get to 1.8. We're going to try and get to 2 million, actually, David, because we got to have a shenanigan buffer on top of the 1.8. Yeah, because unlike ballots, signatures can be discarded and invalidated behind closed doors. You don't get to have observers in that process.
Gotcha.
I'm one of those who thinks that signatures and petitions are like votes, but apparently the Secretary of State does not.
So you're going to need a buffer of several hundred thousand extra votes.
Yes.
All right, so their goal here is to get 1.5 million votes on a petition by March 17th in order to trigger a special election. This would basically allow another candidate to come in and challenge Governor Gavin for the remainder of his term. However, because California is such a deep blue state, the person running against Gavin Newsom would have to be a very, very moderate candidate, to say the least. However, I will say, with the current state of things in California right now, it would not surprise me if they got the number of signatures that they needed in order to trigger a special election, and it honestly wouldn't blow me away if he got voted out. He has done such a bad job of running California. People are literally fleeing. That's what it's called, fleeing California, okay? Across the board. So you can go on YouTube right now and literally type in fleeing California, and you will get a plethora of videos, just one after the other of all these famous people, influencers, YouTubers, and all this stuff coming out and talking about how they are moving out of California because of absolutely terrible policies in the state of things right now. So the cost of living is exorbitantly high in the vast majority of cities there. The taxes, of course, through the roof. Homelessness is rampant through most of the cities. And people are absolutely tired of it. And that doesn't even include all of the craziness with the lockdowns that have happened over the past year, which has been unbelievably awful as well. So many Republicans, this is hilarious because this is gaining a ton of fodder online and amongst Republican circles, but Republicans always cite California as the example for what happens when left-leaning politics are the only thing being pushed. If you go on Fox News on any day of the week, they're probably going to be crapping on California. And it's because they're by far the most left-leaning state, right? They are deep, deep blue. And oftentimes, it is where more progressive ideology and more progressive policy gets implemented first in our country. They've got an extremely progressive state legislature there. Normally, the California governors are incredibly progressive as well, including like the one we've got in there right now, Governor Gavin Newsom. And so many Republicans are pointing at it, and they're looking at all of the crazy things that are happening in California, and they're like, well, yeah, this totally makes sense. This is what happens when you let Democrats run the country or run the state. Pretty hilarious stuff. So will Gavin Newsom actually get recalled? I don't know. Honestly, right now, they're pretty close. In the past month to a month and a half, they've gotten over 1.5 million signatures on a petition to actually get the recall done. They have to have 1.5 million, but in like the video that you heard there, they're saying they're going to have to need significantly more than 1.5 million because the people that review whether or not the signatures are valid and everything are, of course, the California Secretary of State, all of whom are, under the thumb of Governor Gavin Newsom. So if they were able to get in there and get him out of there, though, I think it would be incredibly beneficial for California. And it would be really, really interesting to see if they did get a Republican in as governor and he came in and started pulling back all the lockdowns, started trying to reduce taxes across the state, trying to fix homelessness and all the stuff that's going on, and he actually does a decent job, it would definitely spell some chaos for one of the deepest blue states in the country. So I don't know. We'll just have to see how it all ends up playing out.